Hello everyone, today I will tell you the story of I Spit on Your Grave 2, a 2013 American revenge horror movie. This movie tells the story of an ambitious model, Katie, who lives alone in New York. To update her model portfolio, she naively accepts an invitation to take new photos. However, this experience quickly turns into her worst nightmare of abuse, torture, and kidnapping. In the end, what happens? Does Katie take revenge on those who kidnapped her? Do they get their deserved punishment? Watch till the end to know the mind-blowing truth. There will be spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. At the beginning of the movie, we see Katie Carter, a Missouri native, working part-time in a restaurant in New York City. She meets her agent, Sharon, who tells her that in order to get modeling work, she needs to update her portfolio. This will cost Katie more money, but she decides to take the risk. Luckily, on her way out, Katie sees a poster for free photography and jots down the phone number. Katie supports herself by working 2 jobs and lives in an apartment in the city center. Jason, her next-door neighbor, is the only person she knows, and he helps her in the apartment. Katie carefully goes through her old folder and, out of desperation, decides to contact the photo advertisement. When Katie makes the call, a man tells her to send her photos via email to a man named Ivan. When Kate receives a confirmation of the photo shoot schedule and location, she is overjoyed. The next day, Katie goes to the address given to her. As soon as she enters, she notices a model in lingerie being photographed in the studio. When she sees the inside and condition of the studio, her excitement quickly fades away. Inside, she meets the photographic siblings Ivan, George, and Nicola for the first time. George openly expresses his curiosity and admiration for Katie, supporting by his brother. Suddenly, Ivan pauses while photographing Katie and tells her that her photos are not looking great because of her attire. Then, he suggests that she should show more skin in the photos to make them look sexier. This makes her uncomfortable, and so Katie leaves the building, despite Ivan trying to convince her that showing skin is normal in their industry. 2 days later, George returns to Katie's apartment, giving her a flash drive containing her photos. She reluctantly accepts it, but she doesn't invite him in because she feels uncomfortable with him. Later, George looks through Katie's photos that evening, which intensifies his feelings for Katie. At midnight, Katie is woken up in bed by the sound of a shutter. She is shocked to find George taking pictures of her from across the bed, so she tasers George in self-defense. As she rushes to the door, George blocks her. He takes Katie back to the room, hitting her head repeatedly until she falls down weak. George jestingly ties her up to prevent any suspicious noises, preparing for his evil plans with Katie. Jason hears Katie's low screams and rushes down to check on her. When he comes in, he is shocked by the scene in front of him. Suddenly, George appears from a corner and starts to stab him. Katie stares at Jason's corpse as George forces himself onto her. After his unforgivable act, George realizes the severity of his crime. He cries in a corner while contacting his brother, telling him what he has done wrong. After some time, Nicole and Ivan come to Katie's apartment, finding Katie crying in a corner. The brothers start cleaning up the evidence, then force Katie to take ketamine, knocking her out. A few days later, Katie is found naked, tied up in a dilapidated basement. Nicola imposes himself on her, exploiting his own numbness. When George sees his brother forcing himself on Katie, he immediately stops him. Hearing their voices, Ivan enters the basement, stopping them from arguing over Katie. Before leaving Katie alone for the night, he tells his brothers to go upstairs. The next day, Ivan pours a bucket of cold water for Katie to bathe. As she becomes hostile towards George, who is preparing to lure her, the other two approach her, again pushing ketamine onto her. George approaches her again, this time gently wiping her skin. Soon after, Katie discovers a small window with a cover, which gives her hope of escape. Katie forces the substance out of her body by making herself vomit, until she vomits it out to stay sober. After a while, George returns to the basement and dresses Katie in a deep red dress. George unhooks the handcuffs to fit the dress, which gives Katie an opportunity to escape. Katie slaps George with the bucket, and as George turns around, Katie also slaps his head. Katie lies on the floor, crawling out of the window to freedom. However, she finds herself in a strange city with no one willing to help her. She notices signs and letters in different languages, which shock and confuse her even more. Katie then sees a police officer and seeks his help. She meets a detective named Kirill, who safely escorts her to the station. He tells her she is in Bulgaria. Katie doesn't know how she got there, her last memory being in New York. Subsequently, a lady named Anna Padoff, who works at a women's organization center, enters the room, while Katie is being interrogated. She comforts Katie, telling her that she runs a shelter for women who have experienced similar hardships. Katie doubts her, requesting Anna to take her directly to the U.S. consulate. However, Anna urges her to take a bath before going to the U.S. consulate and drives Katie to her residence. After all Katie has been through, the mansion's cozy interior provides her a sense of peace and comfort. Anna kindly guides Katie downstairs, saying she has spare clothes. But Katie is once again confronted with her worst fear. The familiar sense of danger hits her before she truly realizes where she is. To her shock, Anna is the mother of the boys. Her kindness is just a trick. Anna even slaps her before Ivan brings Katie back to the mattress. Later that night, Valko, their family friend, comes to see Katie. Seemingly not enough to call Katie derogatory names, he begins to bully and threaten her. Then he repeatedly electrocutes her, including her private parts, and forces himself on this poor woman. Upstairs, Anna plays the music, drowning out Katie's screams. After Valko leaves, Katie lies in the basement sobbing, devoid of life. When Ivan comes to see her, Katie uses all her strength to gently slap Ivan. He gets angry because she still isn't afraid of them. So he beats her viciously, leaving her battered and bruised. Then she notices the boys digging a hole in the basement. Katie has lost all her strength and can't even react to the trio's plan to bury her alive. Before putting Katie in the box, Nicola tears off her skirt and throws it to George. Then, George places Katie's cross necklace inside, then covers it up and buries it. Despite George being responsible for the chaos, he regrets his actions. Due to her injuries, Katie can only cry inside, unable to scream or move. Just as Katie thinks this is her final resting place, the ground beneath her collapses, freeing her from the box. She stumbles into the sewer system below, and over time, she recovers her health there. Then Katie finds a sewer leading to a local church where she starts stealing her food. She encounters the rector, Father Dimov, who finds her taking food from his pantry. Katie refuses the food offered by the priest and also refuses to spend time with him. Due to her decision, he allows her to take the food, clothes, and a Bible. The next day, Katie emerges from the sewer, heading for the U.S. Embassy. However, when she gets near the building, she decides to turn around and stay. Katie later comes to the church, which surprises Father Dimov greatly, because the priest believes she is a victim of crime. He provides help and support. He suggests that they should contact the authorities, but Katie stops him from doing so. As Katie leaves, Father Dimov finds an open page of the Bible she left behind. On it is written, "Vengeance is mine." The next day, Katie begins her plan for revenge. Her first action will be to steal money from Anna's residence to buy supplies and weapons. She successfully does this and continues to her next scheme. Katie waits in the restaurant for George, then walks past his table, putting a drink on the table. A few minutes later, George drinks it, finding something in his cup. George finds Katie's cross pendant in his drink, realizing that Katie is still alive. Katie quietly appears around the corner. George chases after her, ensuring she is real. Katie successfully drags George into the sewer, where he receives his deserved punishment. Katie suddenly appears, clutching Georgie's neck with both hands. Meanwhile, Father Dimov contacts Kirill, advising him about Katie's situation and her determination to take revenge on her attackers. Kirill learns more about Katie from him. The detective feels that she has not been adequately protected. George wakes up in the sewer, faced with his fate, only to find Katie threatening him with a switchblade. As George is tied to the ropes on the wall, she inflicts multiple wounds on him. Katie scatters feces on George's wounds, which can cause infection. He keeps screaming, but Katie finds it soothing. After several days of hard living, Katie finally finds a sense of accomplishment. George's discomfort gives her a small sense of satisfaction. The next evening, Nicola goes out to a bar. When an unknown person puts a drink on the table, he drinks it. However, it makes him feel numb and lost, realizing that there are illegal anesthetics in the drink. Then, he notices Katie from a distance, but he is disoriented, unable to consider whether she is real or not. Afterward, he runs to the restroom, discovering a strange surprise. Katie crosses the bathroom, revealing herself, causing Nicola to vomit. Katie strikes Nicola, who is kneeling on the ground, smashing his head to the floor. Then she drowns him in an unflushed toilet. Katie quietly walks out of the club, after yet another successful revenge. The next morning, Valko comes to the church and notices Katie in a nearby corner. Before pursuing her, he orders his family to go home immediately. As Valko runs to the basement, Katie has a great opportunity to hit him with a rock. When he regains consciousness, he is tied to a bed frame and surrounded by metal cables. She begins his torment by shocking various parts of his body, including his private parts. Katie installs electrical wires on the bed frame and turns the regulator to high voltage, killing Valko. Valko screams in pain. Meanwhile, Anna discovers her house is a mess, her belongings scattered all over the place. Then she is drawn to the basement by the sound of music. Suddenly, Katie appears from behind, pushes Anna into a pit and knocks her down. Upon regaining consciousness, Anna sees multiple wounds on George. Anna's face flushes with terror. When she sees her child covered in blood, caught off guard, she screams. At the same time, Ivan comes to their home, surprised to find the house empty. The music also lures him to the basement to investigate. When he finds the hollow hole, he is shocked. To find answers, he ventures into the sewer, where he finds his brother locked to the wall. As he tries to wake up George, Katie hits his head, knocking him down. After some time, when Ivan wakes up, he is tied to a table, Katie beside him. Before locking the box, Katie removes George's gag to display her son's slow death. Then, Katie focuses on hurting Ivan, using a system to destroy his private area while making him aware of her pain. But just then, Kirill arrives, raising his gun to Katie. Taking this opportunity, Ivan grabs Katie from behind and tries to strangle her. But Kirill shoots him in the head, killing him. This allows Katie to escape and regain her freedom. Meanwhile, Kirill arrests her for the crimes of Anna's family. The film ends with Katie finally feeling satisfied with her revenge, seeking safety at the US Embassy. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.